as prescribed. Take your medication, exercise, and diet. On 88.5 Sufra FM. Tell a friend, call your neighbor. Casualty 911 is on.
Louisa, how you
I don't know. I can't understand that. Huh? I can't. You're not in the frame.
Oh, I'm trying to bring you closer, Fonny.
Don't leave.
No matter. You can say good morning.
Good morning to our listeners. Welcome to another edition of Casualty 911 on 88.5 Super FM. It's a lovely Monday morning, made lovelier by the presence of Miss Louisa Wilson, who is joining us for the first time this year. Welcome back to Miss Wilson. Louisa, it is a pleasure to have you with us again. I know that you have been missed very much by the listening public who have not heard your voice for a little while. They've been hearing my voice, and I'm sure those who had the chagrin this morning, Chesot Kaya Plus, because Miss Wilson is here and she will be speaking. The two of us will be here without a guest today. We will be speaking about various issues, including World Tuberculosis Day. But before we get into that, I will give Miss Wilson, give Louisa an opportunity to say hello to all her friends out there who have missed her. You know, she usually does that nice long intro, saying hello to everybody, unlike me, which I just go general, but Louisa has all her little friends in so many different places that she likes to big up at the beginning of the program. So since she's here, Louisa, feel free, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. The thing about it is, fun is making me believe I'm so popular, you know, everybody knows me and so on. But let me just say good morning to all our listeners, and it's always a pleasure to be back. I have not been here for the new year, but I'm sure many of you have been seeing my face around the community, so you know I am well. Again, many persons, like Fawn said, many persons have missed me on the program and they have told me so. So it's always good to be back and you can hear me out and hear the different topics. I must admit that Fawn has been doing a very good job on the program, and she has been extremely helpful where I could not fit in for the new year. So I have to say thank you to Fawn for that level of support. Again, my listeners, you know, persons at Hotel Chocolat, M&C Drugstore, big up to Beata. She says she misses me so much and so on. You know, and many other persons, our country's community. Let me just say good morning to you all, as well as all the market vendors, OJs, good morning to you. And everybody that has been listening to us, we want you to continue supporting us throughout the year. Continue giving us feedback on the topics you would like to hear about and so on, and all the services that we normally tell you about. We hope that you're taking advantage of these free services. And today we'll be talking about a free service also, taking advantage of these free services. Also, I just want to make mention that, you know, we're not seeing our men coming to our clinics. We really want them to come in, especially the age group between the 25 to 45. We're really looking forward to seeing y'all. And let me say kudos to the older men that has been coming to our Soufre Men's Health Clinic, as well as the Lafag Men's Health Clinic. So I'll pass you on to Fawn. Later on in the year, I'm sure I will continue with the program, so many of you can meet me and give me the feedback to improve our program.
Thank you, Louisa. Today is World Tuberculosis Day or World TB Day. For our regular listeners, you remember that last year we had Dr. Gajada here with us. She had a very detailed interview here on Casualty 911 where she spoke about TB. Dr. Gajada is not here with us today, and we would like to just share some basic information as a reminder of what TB is, and just a few other little tips in terms of transmission and so on. However, we will not be using the entire program to speak about TB today. We will also be speaking about other infections that tend to affect children quite a bit. So that would be Impetigo and Chickenpox, as well as Louisa mentioned that we will spend some time speaking about a service, a very special service that is being offered to all St. Lucians here this year. And we really want everybody who needs that service to make use of it, to take the steps necessary to get that intervention. And we're speaking about the hand surgery mission. So as it relates to TB, we know that TB is an airborne and very contagious disease. The theme this year is, yes, we can end TB, commit, invest, deliver. So some of us, we always joke about TB when we hear people with a cough. Sometimes we say, hey, un TB, mache moi, and we take it very lightly. But it's a very serious condition, and it most often affects the lungs. It's spread when people who have TB in the lungs cough, when they sneeze, when they spit, and so on. And the person who is exposed over a period of time to those germs or that bacteria, which is usually the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. I mean, we don't really go in details about the different types of germs and so on, but just to be a little familiar with the name. So that is the most common bacteria which would cause tuberculosis or TB. So as I said earlier, one of the key signs and symptoms would be a cough, but that cough would be a very bad cough that lasts for an extended period of time. So for a very long time, probably as many as 3 weeks or longer, when that person has active TB disease. The person may experience pain in the chest. They may cough up blood or phlegm from deep inside their lungs. Other symptoms of active TB are weakness or fatigue, weight loss, a loss of appetite, fever, and sweating at night. So TB can be spread from one person to another, as we said, when that person coughs, when they sneeze, when they spit, when they sing, and so on. What we also know is that when we have those conditions, usually when somebody has such a condition, usually there's a certain stigma that is attached to it. So people are afraid to hug, people are afraid to sit next to them. And this is not how it's spread. So you can hug the person, you can shake their hand, you can kiss them. Okay, so it's not that you get TB from just being next to the person and rubbing up on them or having a short conversation. People with active TB are most likely to spread it when they spend a lot of time with that person every day. So usually it would be family members, close friends, co-workers, schoolmates. So it's not en passant really. It's just if you spend quite a bit of time with that person, then the risk of being infected is higher. Louisa, is there anything you'd like to add as it relates to tuberculosis?
For listening to you, and since I know TB as an individual, TB is highly contagious. I mean, the moment you hear somebody have TB, you not want to stay by that person. But sometimes, I mean, persons within our community have had TB, and we have been around that person, close family members. It could be a family member of yours that have TB, and you are around that person all the time, not knowing that they have TB. And I remember some years ago, one person had TB in the community, and they had all the family members test for TB, and the person have had TB for years, and apparently nobody got TB. So listening to you, I mean, reality is when you're on the outside and you're hearing about TB and you know it's highly contagious, if it's not a family member or somebody that's close to you, I mean, based on what you're saying, that the germs are not spread by shaking someone's hand, the first thing that will come to you, that is highly contagious, the person has TB, I'll not want to stay by that person. But hearing that, it will give persons a different mindset. Yes, I mean, TB is highly contagious. However, you understand that doesn't mean you cannot be by that person. So I'm really happy that you said that, because I mean, putting anybody in that situation, the moment you hear TB and
You want to
scatter. Yes. So,
Okay. So as I said, it's one of those conditions where there's a lot of stigma attached. People have a lot of misconceptions about what it is and how it's spread. Yes, it is contagious. Yes, we should be we should take precautions and so on. But as Dr. Gajada said when she was on the program, there's treatment for it. Yes, the treatment takes quite a commitment, because it's at about 6 months worth of treatment that the individual will need to receive. So sometimes what you find is that people drop out and so on. But it is important to finish the whole course of treatment. So once you start, it's necessary for you to try to stay the course and take all your medication so that you can clear it, and so that others within your family, your friends, your co-workers, and so on will not be exposed and put at a higher risk of developing the condition.
And so that is where our ministry comes in. When persons fail to continue the treatment, so they will try to get in touch with you so that you can come in and to take the treatment. If not, what did Dr. Kajada say, that was the last resort, bringing you in at the hospital. And until you have not completed the treatment, you will not be discharged, because it's one thing you have TB, and it's another that you are being treated, but yet still you do not continue the treatment. So you're putting other people at risk. And that is where persons need to take responsibility for their health. Because you have the condition, you're out there, you're being treated. It's just sometimes going to the health center to get treated on the days assigned to you. So you have to be committed for you to ensure that you take the full course of the treatment and not putting other people at risk. Yeah.
So in terms of the risk as well, if you have the condition, you're aware that you have the condition, or even these days, once you start coughing and so on, you have some kind of issue. So it's advisable that you wear a mask, and you use and you wash your hands regularly. You use when you cough, when you sneeze, you use tissue to cover it, or you cover when you cover with tissue, you dispose of it in the bin. So that thing we used to have of having a handkerchief or a rag and it's getting, and you keep coughing and sneezing into it and it gets moist and you just keep pushing it back in your pocket and you don't wash your hands, you don't use hand sanitizer. We want to move away from that. So if you need to cover, use tissue, dispose of it. If you don't, washing of the hands is always the best option. But if you do not have access to water and soap, so you use your hand sanitizer. I think, during COVID, everybody had hand sanitizer in their bag. Some people had in every single bag, or they had in so
Their
many
vehicles,
different places that they always,
every corner.
it was always readily accessible. They always had hand sanitizer available. And we have moved away from that a little bit.
Some people still do. They have it hung in their bag, but do they actually use it like before?
No.
That's
And
okay.
generally, I think that we are not as vigilant as we were during that time. I guess it has to do with your perception of risk. So if you don't perceive it, that there's a very big risk involved, then you don't do it.
And also fun. I mean, you see it in the Asian countries and many countries. When people have the flu or the cold, they are very wary. So no matter where they go, they will wear their mask. I see a few people practicing it here, but many people don't, especially when you board the public bus. Because our buses now, they have less windows, and the windows are so small, so ventilation is very poor. And many of them don't wear the mask. I mean, you're among other people, you have the cold, you have the flu, the courtesy to your fellow passengers and to the people in your community. Wear your mask. As time goes by, if all of us practice this, it will become routine. Once people see you have the mask, they will know maybe you have a cough or something and you're protecting them. And that is how it should continue. And during COVID, we keep on preaching that, but a lot of persons have stopped. And people don't care. They cough so loudly and they sneeze, and it never ends on the bus. You could well imagine. So and the worst thing is, as a passenger on the bus, and as a health professional, sometimes you have to keep a straight face because you do not want anybody to see your facial expression. Before the moment you cough or you sneeze, some people will be like, or some people still do it, they watch you, they turn back, they watch you as if, oh my God. But then, you need to extend that courtesy to everywhere you go. Wear your mask. It really helps quite a bit, especially if you're in a close-up space. So we need to continue practicing these things because these conditions never goes away because of diseases will always come back and they're always there. So people need to practice, and our children too, we need to continue helping them with these kind of practices because it starts with our children. So if our children continue, that's all they know, they will continue practicing it. And that is what we're urging persons to do. So I do not know if I am being a little bit dramatic there when it comes to being on the bus, but then,
No, but I find it strange actually that you try to keep a straight face instead of just saying something. Why not just say something?
Let me tell you, people. Let me tell you, people know right from wrong. Sometimes when you correct them among other people, their reaction can be, sometimes they really get offended, even if they know right from wrong. They get offended, and when you're on the bus, you don't want some brum to start or something. So, sometimes you just...
But you'll have backup.
Well, I'll not have backup because I try my best. But I think during COVID, I think we have been preaching that for so long. I think everybody should be in the know that once you have that or you have flu-like symptoms, you need to wear your mask no matter where you go and so on. And don't look for excuses. A lot of people look for excuses. I just started coughing this morning or whatever. No. cover your cough, wear your mask. And so on. People don't even, when they cough, they don't even, or they sneeze, they don't even use they use their hands. A lot of them, they forget the correct way. And these are the things we have been saying over and over again. So we want you to continue practicing the right way of doing things.
Very much so. So apart from the mask, we know there are those other practices that we need to make, just part of our norm, our routine, like covering the cough and the sneeze with tissue or in the elbow, washing our hands regularly, and so on. And as you said, it's important for the children to also learn about it because, I've been interacting with a lot of young children lately, and it's amazing that quite a few of them they actually cover with the hand, face palm, just like you did a while ago. So it means that we have not really, even though we have taught them, we need to keep reinforcing it so that it can become normal practice for them.
And not only that, before we used to have our children have the little hand sanitizer attached to their clothing, and so on. I don't even see the children have that anymore. I know children like to, by the time they have it, by the next few seconds, all is gone. But if you continue giving it to them every day, after a while, they'll start using it the right way. Even in the different institutions where we go, we see the dispensers. The dispensers are empty, and I try deliberately, I pass and I try to pump it, to see whether they have hand soap or they have the hand sanitizer, and there is none. Although I find a few schools, they still have the soap next to the hand washing station out there for the children to use. Quite a few of them still have the hand soap. Whether it's watered down or not, but there's still hand soap there for the children to access. Because children like to waste, and that's one of the things you have to be mindful of. But the dispensers are always, should I say always or most times, are empty. And that's one of the things that, we have it. And again, sometimes we say that, but the powers beyond the principles and so on. If you have the hand sanitizer, how you call it? But there is no hand sanitizer. After a while, you have to continue providing the hand sanitizer to put in these stations because you're going to just have it there for good looks. During COVID, you could have given the hand sanitizer and the dispenser. Now, for you to maintain the dispenser with the hand sanitizer, the powers beyond the principal need to provide sometimes the hand sanitizers and so on, because that is typical of a lot of our agencies. As time goes by, they forget about certain things and they just but that is very important. Yeah.
So we have, as you've noticed, we've moved on and we've been speaking quite a bit about children. So there are some, issues that affect children. Of late, we've been seeing a lot of cold and flu and respiratory illnesses. And we know that very often children get sick because they are in an environment where they have very close contact for long periods of time with other children who may be sick. So we have the cold and the cough. Sometimes we notice them with different bumps on their skin. And as a parent, you probably cannot diagnose. You don't know what it is, but you see bumps, you see blisters, you notice a rash. Sometimes we say it's a rash. We notice some spots on the child's skin. So all of those things can affect children. And today we're just going to mention a few of them. So for example, we keep reminding, I think we do that all the time. We remind parents and guardians, if the child is sick, whether it's the runny nose, the coughing, and so on. If you notice bumps, you don't know what they are. You know for sure they're not mosquito bites, but you're not sure what they are. Chances are those bumps might be, might be contagious. They may infect another child. You need to take the child to a doctor to check it out before you take the child back to school. So among some of the illnesses that affect the children, this one, to be honest, I had not heard about it. I didn't know about it. There was a school one time, and they said a few of the children had Impetigo, and I had never heard of it. I had no idea what it was. And this is a skin infection caused by a bacteria, and it happens to be quite contagious, although usually it is not very, very serious, but it is contagious. And it's most commonly found among young children. So it causes sores on the skin, which can be itchy. The sores can start out as blisters, then they burst, and they have this fluid that comes out of it. So we say that they weep, and then they form they get a harder skin, so they crust. And the common symptoms are, if you read, you see red bumps. But we know that on darker skin like myself, we will not see red bumps. So on darker skin, it may appear to be purple or brown, the same color as the skin. And those sores, they usually get, the area would be usually be red, swollen. The bumps or sores can be painful, and they appear anywhere on the body. But most commonly, they erupt, or they will show up on the face, the arms, the legs. And some of the ways that we can reduce the risk of spread or of transmission, as we said, when you have school children, particularly very young children, preschool, the infant years, although we don't say infant school anymore, but the early years of primary school and so on, it's very easy for them to spread those conditions. So it would be necessary to keep them away from school. You can wash the affected area with soap and water and dry it up. And you need to wash the stuff that they use, their towels, their bed sheets, and so on. Try to use warm or hot, not cold water, but warm or hot water to wash those items. And certainly you would not want to have them sharing those items with other children.
Go ahead, Fawn.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry about it.
So these are some of the ways that you can reduce the risk of spreading impetigo. So you'd want to avoid them sharing the towels, the sheets, the pillowcases. You would not want them to have very close contact with others, especially other children. But the thing about it is, when you notice those bumps, you're not sure what they are. They're itchy, they're leaking. You'd want to go to the doctor. Is there anything you want to add to this?
Yes.
Yes.
You said it well. but sometimes parents tend they see the bumps and they tend to ignore it, sending their children to school, and that is where it starts. And like I always say, we know parents have to go to work. We know parents have busy schedules. But however, by the time you see the one or two bumps, you have to ask yourself questions as a parent. And many times we tend to ignore it and say that's nothing. That's nothing. Maybe it's a little insect bite or something. And then by the time you send your child to school, the child comes back, you see more than one. That is a red flag. You need to take your child to seek medical attention. It might not be anything, but that might be a red flag where you need to take your child to seek medical attention, because when you see these signs and symptoms, some parents, and you ignore it, and you send your child to school, you put in other people's children at risk. And don't tell me when some people like to say, I get it, their child gets it in the school, or parents knew that and they still send their child, and now I have to stay at home with my child. No, it does not work like that. Just because one parent is doing it, that doesn't mean you as a parent should do it also. If every parent say, okay, my child is sick, I'll keep my child home, then you know the school will be a safer environment for other kids, instead of you saying the child got it at the school. And another thing you have to be mindful of, somebody else's child might have underlying health issues that you know nothing about. So sending your child to school when you know the child has something that is very contagious can put another person's child at risk and make it worse for that child, because that child might have an underlying health issue. And then that child will have to stay even more time away from school. And sometimes that parent too is working. So you have to think of the other parent also, not only you as a parent. And certain times the school too has to take drastic measures of doing deep cleaning, because the children touch everything around the school. That means sometimes the school has to close for deep cleaning, because they need to take drastic measures, especially if something is going on in the school and like every child is getting sick every week. Sometimes deep cleaning needs to take place. That means you as a parent and all the parents in the school, now they have to stay home or look for somebody to take care of the child, and so on. So you have to think of the bigger picture. And most times we live in communities where we live at close proximity to the wellness centers. We have access to medical facilities, and it does not take much, sometimes half the day. And we do not want to take half that day to take our children to seek medical attention and to ensure that everything is okay with our child. Or we let when the thing get worse, that's the time we want to rush to our wellness centers and make noise. Many of us like to do that. Depuis bon matin, moi assis là, kose docteur, kose nurse, qui mon docteur pour y ver, qui mon pharmacist là pour y ver. At the end of the day, when you see your child suffering, sometimes it's through no fault of anybody else, negligence on your part as a parent. For some parents, not all. So we're urging you, and that is why we're here, to educate you. So when you start seeing these things, so you know you need to seek medical attention.
Sometimes we are really not aware that, it could be something else other than maybe just an insect bite or something. But we need to pay attention, look at the bumps. And speaking about bumps, there are other conditions. There's another condition which is really bump related too, and that is chickenpox. So chickenpox is an infection that is very, very contagious. Now, what I found very interesting about chickenpox, Louisa, as I said, one of the signs is the bumps. But something I found very interesting about chickenpox is that a person can be contagious with chickenpox even before
Yes, I read
before
that.
the rash or the bumps show up on the skin. And it is extremely contagious. So let's talk a little bit about chickenpox. So chickenpox, one of the main symptom signs is a blister-like rash. So just as we were talking a while ago about the bumps, so it's basically also a bump. So bumps in addition to other symptoms. So the bumps usually last maybe for a week, about a week, and it appears in stages. So you will have a first stage where the bumps, you have spots anywhere on the body that can include the inside of the mouth. It can include the genital area, and they can be painful. They can spread all over the body, or they can remain in one small area of the body. They can be red, pink, or darker, or the same color as the skin around it, depending on whether you are light-skinned or darker skinned. They may be a little bit difficult to see apparently on darker skin. That's the spots, not the blisters. In the second stage, the spots will become a blister. So the blister is like what we usually call them, not a bump, a boil. Some people call them boils. So bumps, boils, rash. That's what you're looking at.
T-plock.
T-plock, because once you say T-plock, there's something inside of it. Okay, there's some kind of fluid inside of it. So inside of the blister or the boil or the bump or the T-plock, you have a fluid, and it can be very itchy, and then it will burst. And when it bursts, after a while, it will form a scab, or it can form a peau. Right? And some of us like to pick at those things, but anyway, that's a different story. So some of the scabs are like dry skin, and some of them are still leaky. Now, the issue with those blisters or the boils or the pluck or whatever it is, or whatever you want to call them, is what's inside of it, that fluid. So that fluid, when it touches things, it infects. It infects, just like when we talk about the cold, when you sneeze and the droplets and everything. So this also. So you want to try to avoid scratching, touching, bursting.
It's not easy, when you
have chicken pox. I saw somebody, I think sometime last year, and she was telling me, and it was an adult. So children is most common in children, but adults can also get chicken pox. And it was very difficult to keep the fingernails out. So you always have this urge to scratch. And that is one of the things you need to try to avoid when you have chicken pox. So apart from the bumps, you may also have a fever. The child may be tired, feel weak, may have headaches, a cough. Okay? And that may come before the boils or the blisters. So when we hear children coughing, we naturally assume it's going to be the cold. They have a fever and a cough, we naturally assume it's going to be a cold. But remember that these symptoms can come before the blisters. And remembering also that we can spread it even before we have the bumps. So when you send a child to school with the fever, sometimes they have a slight fever, and some parents, what's done?
We quickly give them
we made.
You give them Calpol, the paracetamol.
Right.
You do all of that to reduce the fever.
To try to reduce the fever to just so they can make it at least arrive at school looking well. Okay, so there are a lot of little tricks that parents use out there, but we just need to know that sometimes there are dangers associated with that. So chickenpox can be spread, as we said, through the liquid from the blisters, as well as from the saliva or mucus from an infected person. So the virus, which means that if it's coming from the saliva or mucus, it means that when that person coughs or sneezes, it can spread through the air. Apart from being in direct contact with the fluid from the blisters or indirect contact with the fluid, because if the fluid gets onto other objects that other people handle, there is also a risk. There is also a risk of transmission. What can be done to prevent the spread of chickenpox? Well, certainly, if you have chickenpox and you're coughing and you're sneezing, what we spoke about earlier in terms of covering the cough, that's one way. If you are sick or you are around a sick person, a face mask should be worn to reduce your risk. And stay away from others if you have chickenpox, because it is so contagious. You want to refrain. You don't want to be hugging upon people, although when the children are sick, especially the very young children, the older ones too, even the teenagers who feel they're big people, when they're sick, sometimes all they want to do is to cuddle up on somebody, so. But apart from, if it's your child, you probably don't have much of a choice. You cannot shun your child.
Not me. I remember a family member of mine had chickenpox, and let me tell you, my sister had to take care of it. Nobody would have done it. And I'm telling you, I had chickenpox. People said, what? And my sister was the one at putting on the calamine lotion and bathing and washing the clothes right away. Everybody scattered, like you said. Can you believe that? Even the person's mother.
Guilty. You see the guilty person laughing.
I know chickenpox. That's to show you.
So in much the same way as we used to speak about social distancing during COVID, to keep that safe distance about at least 6 feet where possible, and also Louisa spoke earlier about ventilation. Ventilation is very important when you have those sort of conditions to allow air to pass through the place. Sometimes we're in a house and all the windows are closed. We keep our doors closed and so on. You need air to circulate and to ventilate the place. Do not go to school or work until all the blisters have dried up. And I think, just to be on the safe side, to me, it would be best if at least you get a doctor's okay before you go back. At least have somebody look you over maybe if Louisa says family members run scared, you might want to go to a health professional instead, at least to ensure that, all of them are dried up.
You will not want to go out there unless the blisters are dried. And when the blisters are dried up, when you see all of that on your face and on your body, you will go back to the doctor because you want something for your skin to kind of remove all these dark marks all over your body. Because you're seeing spots all over your body. Some persons.
Yes, some people get it really bad.
So really bad. So by all means, you will not shift until you see that blister because it looks really bad. The moment you step out, somebody will ask you, "What's wrong? Why do you have all these things on your skin?" And so on. So unless you're just really a carefree individual, there's no way you want to go out with all these things on you.
And usually when you have those conditions, especially children, somebody has to take care of the children.
Yes.
So you would try not to handle the sheets and the towels with your bare hands. Maybe use gloves, and always remember to wash your hands. Maybe use, as we said earlier, use some warm water, hot water to launder, to wash. We also want to disinfect our surfaces, wash our hands, as I said, regularly. And if there's any medication that was prescribed, please take it as prescribed. And try as much as you can not to scratch.
Very much so.
Because I think the scratching makes it worse. The scratching would make it worse. So these are some of the conditions that we wanted to touch on today in terms of infectious or contagious conditions. For those of you who have an interest in more detail about tuberculosis, since it is World Tuberculosis Day, I invite you to go back through our program from last year on Casualty 911 and have a look and listen to the interview that was done with Dr. Gil Gajada of the Infectious Disease Unit. And it was very detailed, very interesting. So you can go back and have a look at it to learn a little bit more about tuberculosis. So on that note, we will be moving on to the service that is being offered at no cost to us for those of us who need that service. And that is the hand mission, free hand surgeries taking place in St. Lucia. And Louisa will tell us a little bit more about that mission.
So it's for children and adults, and they have been talking about it since last month. Yeah,
It's a while. It's quite a while.
Oh, quite a while.
Yeah.
So,
I cannot remember if it's last month. I tell you, these days I don't know. I cannot keep track of them. Okay, let's not go there.
in a nutshell, age is creeping up.
Age, yes, most definitely.
So it's free hand surgeries for children and adults, and they're looking for babies and children, as well as adults with hand deformity, forearm deformity, broken hand or wrist. A lot of persons cannot afford these surgeries, and they've had these issues for a while. Cyst masses or tumors on the hand, blood vessel masses, crooked fingers, large fingers, too small or too short fingers or short fingers. So they're performing these surgeries free of charge. Yeah. Hand not what's his hand not working properly? That means if you're having issues in closing your hands and so on, all of these things can be taken. And extra fingers, missing fingers, old or new injuries on the hand, web fingers, scars and burns. I'm sure a lot of persons have scars and burns. Lumps or bumps on the hands and locking fingers. So persons who have been in accidents and persons who have had issues with their hands, they're asking you to come and visit for a free medical review on April 6th at the Owen King Hospital and St. Jude's Hospital. So before you do that, you must get a referral from the doctors. Right, Fawn?
You can also go to the wellness centers or the polyclinics or the Sufre Hospital, Denry Hospital, which is also a community hospital. You can also go to any of those public facilities to your doctor so that they can have a look at it and give you a referral. But you can also, as Louisa said, you can also go to the Owen King EU Hospital on the 6th of April from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or St. Jude's Hospital. For those of us in the South, I mean, why not?
St. Jude's Hospital for 10 to what? 10 to 4 on April 6th.
But remember that if you or anybody that you know has any of those issues, at least go to your health center, which is nearest to you. Go to your health center, have the doctor look at it. Or if you may not be able to go on a medical clinic day, if, for example, at least the nurse would be able to guide you, so that the nurse would be able to tell you, okay, well, this is one of the conditions, come back at whatever date. Or if you are mobile and willing, that you could go to a medical clinic outside of your immediate community. So, for example, if you're at Montrouge, and it's not medical clinic day, which is, can you remember what day is medical clinic day at Montrouge?
On a Tuesday
morning. Okay, so it's not a Tuesday, and maybe it's Thursday. You can go to Lafayette. Okay, so at least that is within your same district.
Or if you're not able to do Tuesday Magouche Wellness Center in the morning, you can go to Etangs in the afternoon. So every community in the Choiseul Basin has a medical clinic, every day of the week. So you have Monday, they'll say, Tuesday, Magouche in the morning, Etangs in the afternoon, Wednesday, Fongejac, Thursday, Lafade. And of course, you can always come to Soufrière Hospital. They have medical clinic every single day. And even on a weekend, that's the time you have, you can always stop by Soufrière Hospital and speak to the doctors, because they are supposed to have a doctor during the day and on call in the evening. And persons in the Connery's Basin, you can always go to your medical clinics also. So that works well for community members in this region. Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about it.
So in Vieux-Fort, those of you in Grace, Belleville, Labrie, Saltibus, and Labrie have medical clinic on a Tuesday at the Vieux-Fort Wellness Center, Mondays and Fridays. I always mix up Grace and Belleville, but Grace is on a Wednesday and Belleville on a Thursday. Now, especially for adults, I suspect, some adults, they may have an issue, but sometimes you become so accustomed and you have learned how to function with whatever issue it is that you have, that you figure if it's bothering you so much, why should you? But you can always go in and get an assessment. Sometimes, it may be early days, and there's the possibility that as time goes by, things can get complicated. So why not go in, have the assessment, and if you are eligible, or if they think that you need a surgery, then you can have it at no cost. And we are the people, the medical professionals doing the surgery are competent people. Or if they were not so, I don't think the Ministry of Health would be so, involved in wanting to get people to make use of that opportunity. It's an opportunity that is available to us, by Howard. Now, see by Howard. Sometimes, we prioritize other things because if, for example, as the thing says, you have some deformity of the hand and you have learned to function with it. If you have an other needs, you may not prioritize getting something done about that hand or the extra fingers or the old injury because you can function, but it's at no cost. Your only commitment is your time. So you commit some time for the surgery and for your recovery, and that's it. And your transportation.
Yeah, and food.
Okay.
You don't know how
So
many people are going to be there.
yes. So in a nutshell, it is not going to cost you as much as if you actually had to pay for that surgery. So we're encouraging all of you, all of those people out there who have any of those issues, go and get it checked out and see whether you need the surgery so that you can get it done.
Yeah. And I hope persons take advantage of these free services, especially persons who have had accidents before, the burns and so on, and even for our children too. Especially those persons with the extra fingers, they might have some myths and misconceptions about the extra finger and might not
Or
want
the fingers that are stuck together.
and so on. So now is the best time to take advantage of that situation. It's free of charge. Like one say, go for the consultation, and if you're comfortable and then you qualify, then you can go ahead. If you're not comfortable, then at least you tried. That's the most important thing. So having said that, I would like to make a little announcement for the Lafayette Wellness Center is asking their clients for a free consultation. They're having a health retreat for all their clients, and they're going to have a talk by Dr. Alfonso St. Rose, Mr. Robinson, Mrs. Vanetta Joseph. They're going to have food care. They're going to have massage. They're going to have quite a bit of activities. That's on the 31st of March from 8:30. So they're asking all the diabetic and hypertensive clients, all those who are suffering with hypertension and diabetes, to come to the Lafayette Wellness Center on the 31st of March. So don't be shy. That's a time for you to meet everybody, especially our older folks and our younger folks who are newly diagnosed. That's a time for you to learn more about your condition. And that's a way to, form a group. And then so you can learn so much more about your condition. And the older persons, I know they take that opportunity to come out and to see persons they have not seen for quite a long time and meet persons out there in the community. So that is the ideal time, that is the ideal place for you to come and speak about your condition, your own experiences, hear what the doctor have to say, ask your questions, and so on. And for the young people that are newly diagnosed, don't be afraid to come out and to learn, because what we find, a lot of persons feel there is a stigma attached being diabetic or hypertensive. They don't want people to know they have diabetes. They don't want people to know they have
Well,
hypertension.
maybe because people make certain assumptions right away. Once you have diabetes and hypertension.
You mean for the men form? For the men.
People make certain assumptions about
women
how the body will function.
And women like to do that when it comes to the men. Who's having the diabetes? Too bad. I tell you. You hear that. And we're asking persons, stop it. That doesn't mean people cannot live a healthy and normal life as long as they take care of their body, they take their medication, they watch their diet and so on. They do some exercising and and they do regular checks. You'll be surprised how well these people can work. So
Louisa said that with a certain kind of smile.
Yeah. Because you hate out there. So I'm just saying that and we make things difficult for people, and we tend to what we say, how we say it, and so on, and where we say it. People like to say things in front of any and everybody as if and that is what sometimes creates the problem, and people shy away from coming when there are such activities. So even if you're not diabetic, you can be borderline and you want to know how to do certain things so you don't reach that level, feel free to come in on the 31st of March at Lafag Wellness Center. And it's going to be a very good, they're going to have some very good topics and ways you can continue living a normal life. So I'm hoping that the persons within that catchment area can come out, and even persons that might just be interested in learning too, feel free to do so. Yeah.
Absolutely. Make use of all of those opportunities. I mean, we have the hand surgery. Look at Lafag on the 31st of March. You have a doctor coming in. When you have a specialist to boot, an internist. So when you have those sort of people, Jean Choiset, Zot Mem for the people from Choiseul.
Mm-hmm.
So usually when you have those people in a forum where it's a little bit more relaxed and you have a little bit more time, you can ask your questions. Sometimes somebody might say something and it might click, something else might click for you. You had a doubt, or you really wanted to know about something, and you can get answers from a credible source. We always talk about a credible source. C'est pas tout power bola oui on pour accorder ces gospel truth là. So at least you have people who have the knowledge and the experience to guide you, to answer your questions and so on. So go out there and take advantage of it.
Yeah, and sometimes even if you don't have the condition, but a close family member of yours have the condition, somebody you're taking care of, you can come in and listen. There is no reason why you should stay away. Come in and listen, because that's the person you're taking care of, and that person have that condition.
So we never know where we will find ourselves at some point in time. So it's not man sugar. And then you don't need to know anything. The more you know, the better.
Yes.
Okay.
And also there are quite a bit of activities going on within our region in different communities. So we want persons to, keep their eyes and ears open on the ground. I think Soufrière Hospital is having a walk on the 27th. That is on Thursday. So we're encouraging the young people. For more information, you can always stop by the PHC clinic. That is where Magella, Fidelia, Nurse Eugene and them are for the walk. You can get more information there.
Maybe they can call.
Yeah, they can call also. For those, I forget food care number, but 468-7600, and then they'll guide you accordingly. Also, Forge-Jacques is also having a walk on the 31st. So you could always stop by the Forge-Jacques Wellness Center for a little bit more information as it relates to the walk. And I know the Fujicak walk, they really want to target more young people in the community, because they really want to see the young people live a healthier lifestyle. All right, and that's the ideal opportunity. I think that's all I have to say, Fawn.
Well, I think that's all the time we have, Louisa.
We went
over. So thank you to 88.5 Super FM for allowing us those extra minutes. It was a pleasure having Louisa back with us today. It's so much better to have somebody to have a conversation with. Can you imagine if I was here talking all by myself?
Really? Ellen is always there.
Sometimes Ulan does not want to join in on the fun, but maybe But he was so quiet today. Ulan didn't say a word today. Ulan, check him smile. We putting you on the spot. Sorry. So thank you to all of our listeners for joining us today on Casualty 911. We look forward to you joining us next week for another edition. Hopefully Louisa will be here.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully Louisa will be here to make it exciting.
And also, let me not forget to say hello to Janice, my friend. She's listening online. She already texted me and said, I didn't hear you, Big Mia. So, Janice, good morning and thanks for listening.
Okay.
Bye.